this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Welcome to Flyover Takes. I'm Chris Wanless from Is This Heaven? If you've been following the site recently, you've noticed the beginnings of our Friends 25th Anniversary series, where I'm ranking the episodes within each season before I eventually put together an overall episode ranking. I wanted to put something together for the podcast related to Friends as well, being that it's got the Is This Heaven 10 out of 10 stamp of approval. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. And that's where today's episode came from. So today we are going to be going through the top 10 lines from the series. Now, before everyone gets all riled up about what should have made the list and how big of a moron I am, here's the requisite disclaimer. These are the 10 lines that make me laugh the hardest every time I hear them. It's purely based on comedic value, and that's why I didn't include any of the more serious classics, things like I Got Off the Plane, or I, Ross, Take Thee, Rachel. That being said, I would love to hear from you about what your favorite lines are that didn't make the list, so hit me up in the comments at Is This Heaven on Facebook or at ITH Online on Twitter, and let's have some fun. Without further ado, let's get the countdown started with number 10.
10.
You know, whipped. Whoop-a!
Okay, full disclosure. Chandler is and always will be my favorite character on the show. He was obviously always put in position to deliver the funniest lines just based on who his character is. But this combines his wit with his subtle social awkwardness so perfectly, and it's a great way to kick off this list.
9.
Right? Because if he doesn't like you, this is all a moot point.
Huh. A moo point?
Yeah. It's like a cow's opinion. You know, it just doesn't matter. It's moo.
Joey's dim-witted nature on full display here. What I love about this one, too, is how the writers decided to let Rachel, Monica, and Phoebe to kind of just let the moment breathe and let Joey fully explain himself, even when they could have kind of just breezed right by it. This, honestly, is probably still one of my most quoted lines from the show, for sure.
8.
Don't go, I need you! My audition is tomorrow! Blah, blah, blah! Me la pi! Umbra!
I really could have included any of the scenes involving Joey's attempt to learn French here, but the forlorn tone of his voice at the end just kills me. Again, this is the show capitalizing on Joey being frankly dumb, but the fact that he is so fully and completely unaware that he's speaking gibberish is great delivery as well by Matt LeBlanc.
7.
Let's take a trip! Okay, where do you think we can go? My fajitas!
You could really include the entire scene on this one, from I'm fine to O stands for oh wow. The entire thing is nearly perfect. Phenomenal drunk acting from David Schwimmer and completely in line with Ross's character.
6.
We were on a break!
Probably the first one on this list that would be considered a true classic or iconic line in the history of the show. I believe the phrase "we were on a break" was used something like 18 or 20 times throughout the series. But this one is the most important to me because it leads into another legendary sequence that we may or may not be getting into a little bit later.
5.
7, 6, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.
Again, in the interest of full disclosure, I need to admit that I typically find Monica to be the least funny character on the show. It's not really her fault. She just never was really given a ton of hilarious lines. But scenes like this prove she's certainly capable of delivering a hearty laugh. It's great writing for sure, but the delivery of it with the 7 fingers and the mouthed 7 at the end, that's what puts it over the top.
4,
They're still not coming on, man, and the lotion and the powder have made a paste.
Absolutely one of the funniest sequences overall of the series. Ross in leather pants is funny enough as it is, but the combination of him raiding the bathroom on Joey's advice and then struggling so hard to pull the pants back up, that is just outstanding comedic television. One thing I think that the Friends writers were great at was writing lines and sequences that really only work for a particular character, and this was a great example of that.
3,
Look at me. I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes?
This has to be one of the most universally well-known Friends quotes, right? I know people who have barely watched the show that still use this one. Kind of like we were on a break from earlier, it's obviously funniest in the context of everything else that has happened in the episode, but the absurdity of the point Joey is trying to make here and the lengths to which he'll go to make it are just deliriously funny.
2,
Here we go. Pivot. 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 Pivot.
I mean, this pretty much speaks for itself. There are a lot of instances throughout the show where Ross gets an idea in his head and unsuccessfully just pounds it into the ground. But this one right here takes the cake.
1,
And hey, just so you know, it's not that common. It doesn't happen to every guy, and it is a big deal.
I knew it.
That last bit from Chandler has always been my favorite line in the entire series. It's as if all of his insecurities have been confirmed, and the look on his face is absolutely priceless. This entire sequence, starting with we were on a break, to Ross explaining to Rachel the correct usage of your and your, to Rachel hitting him with this zinger, just absolutely perfect sitcom writing, and it just doesn't get any better than that. And there you have it. Again, I do not consider this to be a definitive list, and I'd love to hear from everyone about their favorites that didn't make it. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, please consider subscribing. Or if you've enjoyed the episode rankings so far on the site, make sure to subscribe to isThisHeaven.net if you haven't already, to keep up with the rest of the Friends 25th anniversary content. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.